Hi, my name is Guy Lawrence and thanks for tuning into my podcast today. If you're enjoying these conversations and you want to check out more of this transformational work, be sure to come back to guylawrence.com.au and join me as we go further down the rabbit hole. Enjoy the show. Sharon, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Guy. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. I know we've been trying to make the stars align to get you on the show for a while. And I'm very excited to have you in here today because I've noticed every time we catch up and I meet you, or even at the events or the workshops and things, some of the things that you've shared with us has amazed me as well. So it's been one of those things to watch your own journey from afar and being involved for me to get you on the podcast so you can share with many other people. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing today. But before we start, as I always ask everyone, and if a stranger stopped you on the street, with COVID-19 going on, it might be a little bit harder than normal, but I'm sure it's happening. And they ask you what you did for a living right now, what would you say?
I'm a mum of two pretty amazing boys, teenage boys. And I'm an accountant working for businesses in the renewable energy space. So I've got two clients that I work for. And I'm studying to be a yoga teacher as well.
Amazing. And I love the fact that you're an accountant. And I'll tell you.
Yeah. Really?
Well, I'll tell you why, because from the outside looking in, when you look at, what I've been doing on my personal journey with this work and meditation to then live in flow with myself, Petra and Matt, it's very easy to assume that we're kind of fringe and it's just on the outskirt of this work and that. And it's normal people with everyday challenges and things that are coming through and embodying this work. And it's easy to assume from the outside looking in that, that's just not for me, that's not this and that. So as an accountant as well, I'm intrigued. Where did it start for you in this journey and starting to look into this work for yourself first, even before we actually, you came to our retreat and everything?
I think that I've been doing yoga for about 20 years, 25 years. 20 years, and my yoga teacher always talked about the yoga practice being on the mat and off the mat. So I had a little bit there, but not to this sort of level. So I think that was a little bit of my introduction into it, but I never did any sort of meditation or breath work or any of the sound work that we do. So I hadn't done any of that, but okay. I think that was my introduction.
And who did you come across first? Was it me or Matt?
It was Matt's work.
Ah, okay. And Matt working with sound as well. Why did you decide to look at that work at that point?
I didn't. That's what the universe gave me.
Oh, please tell me, how did it give it to you?
It goes way back. This is where this is where it starts, because I was in a place where I had been, how far back do we want to go? Do I just want to start?
Please, yeah, go back.
So I think it probably started, so my husband passed away 13 years ago. And so that was a big shock. The interesting thing I think about that was that I actually knew it had happened at the time it was happening. It was like we had a 10-month-old baby, Kai, and I had just put him down for a nap, and he and I had just gone upstairs and I was just chilling out, and Ev had gone on a triathlon. He was just doing like one leg of this triple tri, and he was probably due to come back, and I was just in my room just kind of relaxing, and I just had this knowing that this particular friend, it was like I saw it, like she came to the door, I saw her in the window, and I said to her, and this was like it was a daydream, I was wide awake, I wasn't sleeping. And I said to her, "What are you doing here?" And she said, something's happened. And so then when Ev didn't come back when he was supposed to, and I was calling him, and it was like I just went, and then that friend actually came to the door. So when I saw her, I just went, exactly the same thing. What are you doing here? And she, you know, said they can't find him. So that was really kind of a shock. Like that was, I couldn't believe that I knew that that was happening. And I think I kind of shut that off. Like in some ways I felt a bit guilty, like I had made it happen. So, but doing a bit more of this work, I think it was more my intuition telling me that something had happened. And so then as the kind of years went by, I was okay at the start, but then my grief that I didn't really deal with turned into like anger and resentment. So
may I ask how your husband passed?
Look, he was doing a triathlon and he was running, and they call it now sudden adult death syndrome. So they don't really know exactly what happened to his heart. But it just,
Okay.
Yeah, not 100% sure. So the boys do get checked, and they get checked regularly for their heart, just in case it is a genetic type of disorder or that it's been passed on to them. But unfortunately, we don't really know exactly what it was. And he was incredibly fit. It wasn't like he went for a run and he was unfit and it was too much for him. He was the fittest he'd ever been in his entire life.
Wow. So sorry, I jumped in there. So you said, so
Okay.
as the years passed, I think you mentioned anger and resentment was beginning
Yeah, absolutely.
to
Like,
build.
I just, every sort of, it ended up being that every kind of stress that I had would turn into being really angry with him for dying and leaving us. And I resented it a bit too, to be honest. And then it kind of built up. And I remember looking back at a video of me and the boys, and I was showing him the video to say, hey, look, when you were little, you used to put all your clothes away. And but what I actually got out of it was I was a completely different person. My voice was completely different. It was light and it was fun, and it wasn't like that now. And even my son said to me, Mum, who was that on the video? And I said, that was me. And he goes, no, it wasn't. And I realized, you know, that I was nothing like what I was then.
Got you.
So it had changed to that point. And my kids have always been a bit of a barometer for me. So when I recognize that they're struggling, I sort of go, well, what am I giving off to them? And one in particular is like that. He will really feed off me. So where are we at? We're in about June 2018, I think it was, where I had like this really funny episode where I was so overwhelmed and stressed and angry that I must have screamed or yelled or something. I was hanging clothes outside upstairs on the line, and I remember hearing this sound in my head and just going, oh, what have I done there? Like it was really quite scary. And the next day I then developed this pain down, like a numbness and all this sort of stuff down the side of my pains in my chest, went up the side of my face. Like it was a real physical pain. It was obviously my body saying, I've had enough. Mm-hmm. You know, you need to listen to what I'm saying. We can't do this anymore. And that went on for about 6 months or so. And I went for all these tests on my heart and all that sort of stuff. And it came back completely negative. Like my heart was completely fine. But I think the scariest time was nighttime, when it would feel like it was worse.
Wow.
And I think I was like that for about 6 months, but I think it was going on, you know, for a long time, where it was just, I was just going down into this downwards sort of spiral.
Were, were you was there a sense of awareness that the grief, the anger, the stress had been building up and it was manifesting into the body? Was it that kind of awareness to it, or you thinking, or was it just like there's something broken, there's something wrong, I need to fix it? Like,
oh, I knew it was stress. I knew it was
okay,
completely stress and being overwhelmed, and you know, just trying to. I was basically at that point where I just knew that I had to get my boys till they were about 18, and then I didn't care what happened to me.
wow.
So that was where I was at.
So it was your boys that kept you going, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. And they, yeah. And that's not the best way to live, just trying to get by, to get through. So then, of course, when I was having those pains, that was my fear as well, was, oh, what happens if something happens to me? What's going to happen to them? But yeah, it's interesting, just not enjoying life. There was no enjoyment or fun, well, not much at all.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So far out. I didn't really, obviously I kind of knew some of the story. I didn't know it to this depth, Sharon. So I can only imagine, when you're in that place, there's a sense of hopelessness, stuck and just like, basically, what the fuck do I do now, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I remember my brother. Sorry, I cut you off. What were you
Oh,
going to
please
say?
keep going.
I remember my brother had this a really good friend of his commit suicide, and at the time we talked about it, and we said, I don't know how you could get to that point where you would even think of doing that. But now I know how you can. Like, you can. Your mind gets to that place where it was like you think you know what you should be thinking, but you can't change it. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
100% it does.
and then that creates even more frustration and hopelessness, because and the psychologists, I saw a few, like about 6 psychologists.
6.
And never, yeah, I think I saw about 6, and I was just trying to find the right fit. And I did find one really great one, and it was all about mindfulness. But it's so hard to be mindful and fix what's going up in here when what's going on in here, now I know down the track, what's going on in here needs to start.
As in the body.
Me, needs to start first.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's only come now that I'm aware of all this. I've got the tools and I've sort of done this sort of work, but I didn't know that before.
Oh, incredible. So, okay. So you're in this place. You obviously, because it's a spiral, right? The negative loop, and you just, it's like you say, it's hard to break and come out, especially when you not realize that it's the body that's influencing the mind as well.
Yeah.
And you've seen 6 psychologists. You're coming up against yourself more and more. So then what? What happened? What was the turning point? Because we still haven't got to Matt yet.
No. So this is where it leads into it. So I was at that point. It was about, I went on Christmas holidays in Melbourne, and I was still having all those pains and that. And then in about January 2019, I came home, and the boys stayed in Melbourne. And I was home by myself, and I just said, I yelled it. I just went, something has got to change. This has got to change. And I felt I felt that I don't know what it was, but it was just a feeling. It was like, yep, I've got to do something about it. Something's got to change. And then I was on Facebook, and a friend had said she's going to this yoga workshop, and I thought, oh, well, I'm here by myself. I'll just go along. And I messaged the lady, and I said, have you got any spots left? She goes, you wouldn't believe it, someone just pulled out. You can have it for a discount at this price. So I went along, and it was the yoga, and I had no idea that Matt was going to be there, and I didn't know anything about him. So Brilliant. I did the yoga workshop, and then he came in and he did his sound healing, and I cried through the whole thing. I sobbed. I didn't cry. I sobbed through the whole thing. And at the end, he asked the question. He says, "Oh, something about give me one word to describe it. And as everyone was going around, everyone was saying things like, oh, beautiful, colourful, peaceful, bliss. And I'm just going, oh, I didn't experience that. And I think I said powerful. So that was where the change started happening, and I felt so different afterwards.
Talk me through the next few days after that. So
Look, I can't really remember, but I remember feeling a lot more peaceful and things didn't bother me as much. But it's really hard to remember. Yeah, but I knew I needed to go down that path and do more of that sort of work. Like I really, that kind of sparked that interest and that awareness.
Beautiful. There was enough of an experience to make you go, there's something in this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you think you would have gone if you had known what you were in for?
Oh yeah, I reckon I would
okay.
have just gone.
Good.
But it would have been the yoga that would have encouraged me along to do it.
Yeah.
That's where it would have been. So that was where I first came across, your work or Matt's work.
So you've had that experience, you've taken it back in. So that was beginning of 2019. So then what happened? Because I think you must have come to the winter retreat, did you, in August?
Yeah, I came for the August one.
2019.
Yeah. So then I did some of Matt. Of course, I didn't have the tools to keep going with the work. And then I did some Matt's Living Flow. What was it? His
Love Your Vibe?
Love Your Vibe. Yeah, the 7-week course. Sorry, Matt.
Right. So then you went on to do Matt's. Yeah.
And it was great. It was so great, and I did notice changes, definitely, and that actually helped me with all this side, the pain down, the numbness and the tingling all down the side. That got rid of all of that, and all up the side of my face, and
well, that's huge.
That. It's massive. Yeah, it's huge. But I couldn't quite crack into my heart. And a lot of Matt's work was about getting into your heart and the breathing, and that was quite, and he'd talk about it, and I would just go, I don't really know what that feels like or what that means. So yeah, did that, and then finished that course, and then I went through, I don't know, I just was in a bit of a mess, because I had obviously gone back down again, or gone into not a great space. And I think I was at a job where I shouldn't have been at this job. All the signs were telling me that this isn't the job for you.
There's a lot of realization starting to bubble up to the surface, right?
Yeah.
That we don't usually see when we're in a place of guilt, anger, frustration, whatever that might be from those states. They can kind of cloud other things, because then it becomes too big quite often.
And it's also those beliefs that you have, that you've got to work hard and you've got to sacrifice and to be able to succeed. But that's what I had learned growing up, is that that's what you have to do. But I didn't notice those signs. To say, and I was a single mum with 2 kids, and I didn't have the confidence, I guess, to go, okay, well, I'm going to go find something else. But in the end, anyway, I left that job, and I left, and they were people that I had known for a long time as well. So I was leaving people that I knew and people that I were friends with for years. So that was a big change for me, and that was quite scary. It was really scary. And when I was on that break, because I just knew I had to take a break. So when I was on that break, that's when I think there was a post that Matt had put up saying that there was a few spots left, and I just went, why not? I'm just going to go to this. And it was, and it was that quick a decision where I just,
Wow.
yeah, this is what I need to do. I need to do more work. And
So that would have been the first time you came across me and Petra then, from that
yeah,
at the
yeah,
retreat, all
yeah,
three of us together.
yeah.
And were you what, can you take yourself back there at the time? Were you excited? Were you nervous? Were you had no idea? You were just open to whatever would come of it?
I was super nervous. Yeah, I was definitely nervous. I didn't know what it was going to be about, and yeah, I was nervous. And I was around people that I didn't know. I'd never put myself in that sort of position.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So I was very nervous.
Because I will never forget seeing you come out of, I think it was the second day, with the sessions, and you had a big shift, and there's more
Yeah.
realizations coming in. Would you be happy to share a little bit about sort of what you kind of experienced there?
I think the first I think one of the biggest things was to actually be able to get into my heart and understand what that felt like.
Mm.
And that was massive, because that was like, I remember it being like, it was like this crack that came up in one of the meditations, and I could see the light through
Wow.
the crack. Like I could actually see, and I'm not a very visual person. So, and I still remember it to this day. So that was pretty amazing.
And what did that teach you from that moment on?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't thought about that, but just the feeling of it, to be able to access my heart, and just,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, to know what I had been missing. Like that was like the missing link.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And then another time where I was able to connect with my grandfather, and that was amazing, because it was like he led me to this place of just pure bliss and peace and serenity. Yeah, it was really incredible. So that was one.
Did you feel his presence? Did you see him? How did it come about?
It's funny that you say that, because I spoke to my mum about this afterwards, and she said, "But how did you know it was him?" And I said, "I just knew it. I could feel his presence. I could just feel it. I didn't see him. I could just feel it, and I knew it was him."
And it can be hard to explain to someone that's not experienced that before. But when you're in this environment and there's a collective group energy that's constantly raising over each day, and our vibration is raising, and we start to get beyond the mind, and there's a larger expansion part of ourselves that starts to connect with the expansive universe, if you like that's forever present. And until you have that direct experience, it's like I always say, it's like trying to describe what it's like drinking from a coffee shop in Spain. If you've never been to Spain before and you're looking at a photograph, you never really get it. And there's this knowing, there's this presence, this feeling. In January, I felt the presence of my dad turn up when my mum was there. In because we're all in that vibration and space, and it's such a beautiful healing experience.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Did your mum feel that as well?
Oh yeah. In a huge way. He was there for her, for sure, supporting that. It was incredible. So you had that experience with your granddad, and can you remember what you took away from that when you came back?
Look, I think it was just that realization, or that I think I always realized. I think I was always aware of it, but just that, what's the word? Can't quite think of it. Just that knowing that, that the energy doesn't actually die. Their souls don't just disappear, that they are still around, which was pretty powerful. And I know he helped me with the healing that we had done as well, and that they're there for you and can help to guide us as well.
Yeah, it's a huge realization.
Yeah, and I'm more in tune with it now. Like I've had these moments where I know Ev's around and he's helped the boys with something, and just knowing that that's what's happened. Like really silly things, like Finn was trying to start the lawnmower, and he was trying so hard, and he'd been trying for a day and a bit, and I just had this sense of Ev, and just going, just help him with it. And he's like, he'll get it. And then he did. And the lawnmower started. And it was like a lawnmower that hadn't started for a year. It was
Wow.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're open to seeing the synchronicities and the beauty of what life can give us, right? When we're in a different state, which is what I think it's all about. You know, regardless whether people outside of this believe that or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is how much joy it's actually bringing to ourselves and in our lives.
Yeah.
And the meaning we take from it. Now, I'm going to read out a dot point you sent me earlier, because we caught up in Camden at the one-day workshop me and Matt did after the retreat. And I know it was a special day for you. You'd come in and we asked people to share at the end. And I was oblivious that you mentioned about it. I think it was a hip injury at the time.
Oh, yeah. So that was the next bit I was going to talk about.
Because you've got shifting a 25-year-old physical injury.
Yeah.
That many treatments and lots of dollars couldn't shift.
Absolutely.
That was the dot.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be the title of this podcast, because when I read that, I'm like, I want to know more. You know. So please explain.
Yeah. So when I was 21, I was doing a full-time dance course because I was going to be a dancer.
Wow.
And I think I got through about 3/4 of it, and I couldn't continue because I had this issue with my left lower back, like the sacrum joint there, and I couldn't dance. Like I would try, and I couldn't keep doing the course. And the physio at the time said, "Oh, you've got a 6-year-old woman's back." So that's what he said.
That was nice.
Yeah, I know, lovely. And then I saw lots of physios to try and relieve it. Physios, chiropractors, osteos, Reiki practitioners, and more recently in the last few years, a craniosacral therapist. And I have spent so much money on it. Like the osteo, for example, it really flared up after I had my second child, Finn, because at the time when Ev passed away, we were 4 weeks pregnant. I probably didn't mention that. We just found out we were pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were, so we were 4 weeks pregnant. And so after Finn was born, I just had so much issues with my neck. And I went to see this osteo who'd been recommended, and he said, "Oh, it's down," like correctly. He did a great job, and he correctly worked out that it was due to that particular spot in my back. And it was for 18 months that he tried to fix that. And he was kind of putting it into a place that he thought it should be, but then obviously my body was just going, well, that's not where it needs to be. But it was obviously, now I know, it was obviously a holding in there. And he was saying, I just need to unlock it. I just need to unlock it. I just need to unlock it. And in the end, I just went, I got so frustrated because, you know, I would see him, I'd be okay for about 3 days, and then it would just be an issue again. And I was in so much pain.
Wow.
But that back had been a problem for a long time. You know, I would go for walks, and it would just seize up on me, and I'd be just standing there going, oh, I just got to let it pass. I've just got to let it pass and let that pain subside. So then I think it was the last night of the retreat, after the divine vibing session that we did with Matt. And that was actually the time when I connected with my grandfather in that session. And it was so interesting because when I had placed myself in that room, I had placed myself next to probably the noisiest people in the retreat. And I remember sitting up and just going, oh, Sharon, what have you done? What have you done? But I could hear them, but I just wasn't going over there. It was like, I would just went, yeah, I know you're there, and I'm here. And I just, and I was just able to experience just the most incredible feeling and sensations. Anyway, that night I was asleep and I'd woken up, and I always wake up during the night, and wide awake. And I thought, I'm just going to do, and of course, when you're in the retreat, your body, you can feel the energy in your body, and you can feel the energy in your different chakras, and you can access it a lot more easily because you're in that sort of environment, right?
Totally.
So I tried to do some alternate nostril breathing, and that didn't work. And then I tried to sort of work with my chakras, and I got to a point where I almost had turned them, I could just feel all of them, and I had all this energy like flowing through my body. I was wide awake, definitely wide awake. And then it was just this really beautiful moment where I heard this incredible sound outside. It was probably about 3 o'clock. So of course, birds aren't usually around at that time, but it was just this beautiful sound of I don't want to do it now because it might sound funny, but it sounded outside. I heard it outside. It was just like this bird whistle, this really long bird whistle. And then I was like, what is that? What's that sound? And then I heard it again a little bit further away. But then it was like everything, you talked about synchronicity before, but everything was like synchronized. My breath and my roommate's breath was all synchronized. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And then my hip just started moving and unwinding.
And you could feel it there, right?
It was the biggest shifts. If anyone had have come, or if my roommate had have looked at me, she would have gone, oh, what is going on there? I reckon. So it was just unwinding and moving. And I think it had learnt that from the treatments with the craniosacral therapist, because it was similar sort of movements, that unwinding. So it was a bit like, I sort of liken it to when you pop corn, and it sort of starts off slow and then it builds and builds and builds, and then it starts to slow down again. And that's what it was like. And it went on for a really long time. But I remember going, okay, this is kind of really strange, but accepting as well, because I had experienced it before. And so then I turned over, and I remember going, towards the end of it, it just stretched out as long as it could possibly stretch out. Like I could feel this real stretch in my whole internal body. And then I rolled over and just went, oh my goodness, my back feels completely different. Like,
wow.
Yeah, it was just so much looser and freer. So that was what happened. And then I'm able to do yoga so much better now too, because I can actually, rather than going, oh, I can't do that movement because I'm all stiff and sore, I can actually get in and do the movement from inside.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is crazy.
Crazy.
Unbelievable. And with all that going on, and you come back and integrate the work into life, because like you said, we obviously experience a lot more energy at the retreats, and that's the purpose of that. But we're actually also creating new memory for the body and new reference points. And I think that's the really important bit. So as we come back down and integrate back into life, there's been shifts again, which of course changes our perception and changes the way we feel about ourselves and everything and our life around us. How has it been since? How is your life right now? Your relationship with the work? You continue to do it. You continue to open up into it. Like things about like even trusting yourself more, trusting your intuition, trusting that there is something supporting. Like where are you at with it all now?
Yeah. So now, I think I worked. So when I got back, it was quite challenging when I got back, because obviously my boys were in the same state as when I had left. So I would have to go away, come into my room and meditate, like a few times a day. And so I guess it was a little bit of escapism maybe. Where I was just sort of taking myself away. I don't know if that's what it was, but I think maybe it was just getting used to it and just having to do that to take myself back to my heart, and my heart and my breath. That's what I used to have to do. And eventually it got to a point where I didn't have to do that as much anymore. So I think I started to do your course, your 4-week course. And I remember being in the shower, and I remember telling myself this story, like going through this story, and realizing at that point, I keep myself in this state of grief by telling myself these stories, which are untrue. And I would be crying at these stories. It's pretty crazy. And now I don't do that anymore, because I had that realization of, and it was interesting because I did it. I had that realization, and then I went and did your course, and I sat down to it, and it was the topic on homeostasis or something like that. And I was like, that's what I've been doing. I've been keeping my body in that state of grief. So of course, from then on, I just stopped those stories, and that's helped. I mean, that's been a massive shift in the work, in the grief state that I had been in. What else? I've gotten into a lot more to do with the breath, and that's been I've been lucky, because I then signed up to do my yoga teacher training, and I'm doing it through IYTA. And it's not just about the yoga. They go into the breath and the energy systems and the chakras, and they take the breath into the really basic of just being aware of your breath, which is something I could never do. I would always be controlling it, because I didn't know how to just be the observer and allow my breath to do what it was doing. And the awareness of what my breath was doing in my body was a big realization as well, because you could really feel where all the blockages were. Like I could feel that I couldn't I wasn't breathing into the right side of my chest, and I could right lung, and I could feel that it was really, it wasn't smooth, like my breath wasn't smooth when it was coming out. So there has been a lot I have learned in the breath work, to do with breath work. And that's been amazing, the breath work.
Yeah, it's powerful. Absolutely.
It is, yeah.
And it teaches you to really start to reconnect to yourself and bring awareness to areas that we probably disassociate ourselves with because of the grief, the pain, the traumas, or whatever it is that we've been holding.
Yeah.
But then the breath can really start to allow us to help us to shift through things,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, the breath is incredibly powerful. So I'm really keen to do more in that work, but I like to do more gentle kind of breath work.
Yeah, of course. I get that too. There's a time and a place for everything. I'm the first one to put my hand up for that. Because it can be very powerful, and you got to be very mindful when working with the breath. And I just wanted to raise one last point on the show, Sharon, because I loved it because you read about how you feel excited, inspired about life, and actually want to live.
Absolutely.
And I think that's just such an important highlight, because even in the space of this podcast, knowing what you've been through, and the grief and everything that it's so much pain would have been to be in this place now. And I think that's a great reflection and testament to yourself, and really trusting and leaning in to the work and to keep going, right?
Yeah, and just doing the extra work that you guys have got on offer and taking up that, it's made a huge difference. And whilst before I was, worried about losing friends, I've gained so many more friends, in that, and to be able to just change. I now have been able to change what's been going on in here, because I've been able to work with what's going on in my body first. And that's amazing. Like there's so much awareness that I have, you know, a situation might come up and I will feel it in my body and I'll just go, okay, something's not right there, or, you know, and then I'll do some breathing and I'm aware that something's not working. So my body's telling me if something's not the right path, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
But in saying that, it also tells me when something's right and something really, it you know, really resonates with it, because I can feel the energy kind of get quite excited, and it's like, oh, I love this. So exciting. Yeah.
And then that's such a beautiful point, because then it inspires you to have the courage to lean into the unknown and take steps beyond things that you probably wouldn't normally do if we so disconnected from ourselves, you know.
Absolutely,
And that's where I draw strength from on a daily basis, is really trusting that and trusting that part of that knowingness that's ever present, but we just need to be able to be aware of it more at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I just want to touch on one other point, because I think the most important, one of the most beautiful things that comes from going to the retreats and being involved in a community is the people that you meet along the way. Like, I think that's quite often something we don't think about when we go into them, because we're so fixated on our problems and our things, and we just want to move stuff and get. But the beautiful components of coming around like-minded people, and we realize we've all got shit. We're all the same at certain levels, but then you nurture and you go through experiences together like that. And I feel like I know people better in some respects than I have done for many years, because of the things that we've shared and done from that. And you have true friendships that allow you then to support you to when life keeps, you know, life doesn't get any easier, you know. We just,
Absolutely.
yeah, you know,
Absolutely.
which has been amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I connect. I've done Petra's work as well, and we've got this beautiful group that we connect with. And I just feel like it's a space where you can say anything and everything, and it's a non-judgmental, safe space. You know, it's just beautiful. So we still connect up quite regularly.
Yeah.
So, and I think the biggest thing about this work is that it's actually allowed me to be a better person, like a more empathetic, kind person. And, you know, more importantly, a parent to my children. And just, you know, it's where I know, you know, and I'm excited to do more of it, because I've got still a long way to go.
we all do that. I think the moment you think you got it in the bag is the moment you're going to really question yourself, you know. I've been doing the work for a long time now. I still blows my mind the things that can happen and the things that unveil, and I have to constantly grow. We're all growing. If you're not growing, you're dying. And I think that's part of life, part of evolution. So, you know, I made up my mind a long time ago, and just go, you know what, I'm going all in. I'm in it for the ride, man. Let's see where this adventure takes us.
Yeah.
You know?
And you've got to have those challenges to be able to keep growing, I think, and keep evolving
Totally.
That's how I feel. Yeah.
100%. There has to be some resistance for growth, you know.
Yeah.
I've got one question for you to wrap this podcast up, Sharon. And that is there anything you'd like to share to leave our listeners to ponder on over everything we've covered today?
Oh, wow. I just how important this sort of work is. I mean, we work on the outside of our outside. We have showers every day, and we keep ourselves clean and that, but it's so important to do the inside work, and work on that every day. That's how I would see it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes. Sharon, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today and sharing from the heart. Your story is incredible, and you've inspired me. You'll inspire many who've listened today. So I just want to know that I really appreciate everything that you're doing and being here to share. So thank you.
Thank you, Guy. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
You're welcome.